Put this here. Hello, everyone. We're very excited to be live today for this year's edition of Legal Jingle Mingle. I hope everyone is doing great and you can all hear me. If you can hear me, you can see me well, please drop an emoji, drop something, a thumbs up, a high five, the US flag if you have that emoji. All right, guys. So today we're going to be discussing a very important subject while we have Christmas carols playing in the background. Can you guys hear the Christmas carols? If you can hear it, we have our own special DJ with us. If you can hear it, just drop us a music emoji to show that you guys can hear us, you can see us. It looks like I'm very dark on LinkedIn and Facebook, but TikTok is very well lit up. Instagram is also well lit up. Okay, I understand you guys can see me and hear me very well. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to be discussing a few things to be aware of as we end the new year and as we end this year and as we go into a new year. Okay, yeah, you can also drop your all your questions and we will attend to it as we discuss. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at affidavit of support. Okay, the affidavit of support. And the affidavit of support is one of the requirements that trips up. You may pause the music for a while now so I don't get too distracted. We'll start playing again soon. The affidavit of support is a contract. If you are trying to get a green card in the United States, it's a contract that your petitioner has to enter into with the US government so that they can contract with the US government to show that the petitioner is able and willing to support you financially in the United States, and that the person who is going to be the intended immigrant going to get a green card is not going to become a public charge. They're not going to be begging the US government or asking the US government, give me food stamps, give me Medicaid, give me medical, give me this, give me that. The US doesn't want that. If that happens, they're going to go broke. So they want to make sure that everybody who's applying for a green card has a petitioner who is able and willing to sponsor them. Of course, there are always exceptions in law. As you guys know, in law, there'll be exceptions, and some of the exceptions will even have exceptions, and the exceptions will have their own requirements, and sometimes can be a little complex. But yes, the affidavit of support is a requirement specifically for the family-based adjustment of status cases. People who are applying for green cards are the family-based, and these people don't qualify to be exempted from this rule. Some people are exempt, like asylum, people who are applying through asylum, VAWA applicants. These are examples of people who are exempt, and generally employment-based applicants are also exempt from this rule. There are exceptions, of course, but generally for many family-based immigration applications, you will need your petitioner to show that they are able and willing to sponsor you. They have enough money. They are making enough money to be able to sponsor you. And we find that if your petitioner does not demonstrate that they are able to petition for you, or they're not making enough money, then this could be a problem for your application. we've seen cases where people's green cards have gotten denied because of lack of affidavits of support, or the case was denied. The entire case gets denied based on a problem with the affidavits of support. Either the petitioning sponsor is not making the required amount, and in order for the petitioning sponsor to make, you have to demonstrate that the petitioning sponsor is making 125% above the federal poverty guideline for his household size. And if they're working in the U.S. Armed Forces, this requirement is a little relaxed for them. They should be making 100%. And the federal poverty guidelines, they are not things we come up with. The HHS every year, they release in March what the federal poverty guidelines are. And these poverty guidelines are supposed to help the federal agencies determine who qualifies for a means-tested public benefit, right? Means-tested means it's an affordability test. So in order for you to get, let's say, food stamps of some type of benefits, like food stamps, WIC, for example, so that you can go into a store and you don't have to pay money, but you can get 2 gallons of milk, 2 cans of beans, and whatnot. The government, in order to qualify you for a program like WIC, that's usually for women who are pregnant or nursing mothers who are not making enough money, then they can get some food to be able to take care of their families. In order for you to get accepted on a program like WIC, the government is going to look at your tax returns, look at how much money you are making. So that's a means test that they use. There's a means test, an affordability test, or can you afford groceries? If you cannot afford groceries based on the federal poverty guidelines, then you qualify for a program like the WIC, which allows you to get benefits like food stamps, so that you go to the store, you don't need to buy groceries, and you can just get some food for your family. Okay, so the affidavit of support is a very crucial part of your application. Now, if the petitioner, let me just show you guys this. The I-864, generally the I-864, it depends on your household size. There are different poverty guidelines depending on your household size, and you need to be able to calculate the household size properly. You want to look at the number of dependents. Has the petitioner sponsored any other person? Such considerations in order to determine whether, what the household size is. Because, for example, if you're making $60,000, it might be enough for a household size of 3, but it might not be enough for a household size of, say, 20 people. So the amount you must be making to petition petition somebody to get a green card, it depends on how many mouths you are feeding. The number of mouths you are feeding will determine how much money you should be making in order to qualify as a sponsor. And if you don't qualify as a sponsor, then you can have, something known as a joint sponsor or a household wage earner to supplement your income that you are making. Okay, so that's it for the affidavits of support. I've actually, we've handled cases where people's cases got denied based on a problem with affidavits of support, and they got sent to immigration court. I don't know if I mentioned that. It got sent to immigration court, and it takes, not sometimes, it always takes a lot of money and stress to get out of immigration court. It's not a place I'll recommend. I'll recommend you go. If you can avoid it, avoid immigration court. You don't want to step foot there. It's like jail. It's very stressful and it's very expensive and there's a lot of factors that come to play to determine if you are going to get out of jail free or you're going to get deported. So you first of all, you want to do everything in your power to make sure that you are not you never land in immigration court. Okay, guys. Now let's go. Let me see my DJ. I don't know. Let me play my own Christmas carol. I'm going to play the Hallelujah one that I love so much. Then Justine, you can take over with the rest of the music while we see whether there are questions we can answer during this live video. Please take notes. Again, these live sessions cannot be legal advice. Legal advice is usually, we have to review your case before we can give you legal advice. This is for educational purposes. So if you need legal advice, make sure you contact us so you can get legal advice that's specific to your situation. Let me tell you guys a story. I actually had a recent consult that I spoke with, and he told me something very interesting. And I find that it happens a lot. It really happens a lot. Let me pause my music and tell my story first. Now, you guys, if you can hear me and see me, please drop me an emoji. Let me make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Drop me an emoji, please. Drop me an emoji as much as possible. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter. No, we're not live on Twitter. TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm sorry, not Twitter. Everywhere apart from Twitter. Drop me an emoji and then let me tell you guys the story I want to tell you. So I had a consult recently, and he was, we discussed his case. He wanted to apply for US citizenship through the process of naturalization. US citizenship through the process of naturalization means that you have been, Miss Divine Clarty, thank you for joining. You have been a green card holder for at least 5 years, or you've been a green card holder for 3 years and you're married to a US citizen applying through that basis, or even shorter if you apply through being in the military. That's the fastest way, right? Now, this gentleman wanted to apply for US citizenship, and guess what happened? He owed taxes. Now, if you're applying for US citizenship, you must make sure that you do not owe county taxes, state taxes, or federal taxes, because it's part of the application process. You're going to be asked, do you owe the US government any money in federal taxes, in state taxes, or in county taxes? And he owed some taxes. And guess what he did? He had listened to, he said, this popular person called, is it Michael Blackson or something like that? He's a Black American actor. And he said Michael Blackson said on TV that when he applied for US citizenship, he owed taxes. That's according to my client. I don't know what Michael Blackson did or didn't do, but this said Michael Blackson went on TV and said that he owed taxes, applied for US citizenship, and his case got denied. And so this client of ours listened to Michael Blackson and like, oh, okay, I also owe taxes, so I cannot apply for US citizenship. That's incorrect. Even if you owe taxes, you can apply and be given US citizenship. There are things that we can do. We can show, for example, you have a proper payment plan with the IRS, and you're making good faith payments. There are ways we can apply for you even if you owe taxes. Now, this client of mine said he watched this show on TV, and Michael Blackson became his immigration attorney, and it's like, okay, indirectly advising him, okay, you owe taxes, you cannot apply for US citizenship. And you know the reason I'm telling you this story? A lot of law or a lot of regulations, a lot of statute, you cannot apply them in vacuum. They are applied in a context, within the context of your facts and within the context of your situation. So, in law, you'll see people tell you, or even when you read legal judgments, a judge will say, this is a matter of fact, this is a matter of law, because your facts will determine how the law should be applied to you, right? Of course, there's interpretation of the law, but your facts can sway a case in one way or another. And so this is not legal advice, it's legal education. If you need legal advice, make sure you contact me, and don't pick something somebody says like, oh, because this person could not do this, it means that is the law, or it means I cannot do this. They will generally not tell you the full story, and I hear it all the time, see it all the time. The people that tell you their immigration stories, number one, they may not tell you the full story. Legal issues can be very private, so they're not going to tell you what they did or what they didn't do to get to where they are. So you will hear a skewed narration and think that, oh, okay, that's the law. Other times it may be because they don't even know they're omitting a very important fact. And guys, guess what? I do, we're able to pull up from the US government all the information they have about you from all the over 100 federal agencies. And sometimes I'll have people tell me their story, like, okay, this is what happened. I came in 1994 and I did this and I did that. And then by the time I pull up their immigration records, we can pull it up from the US Embassy in your country, from USCIS, from the CBP, wherever. By the time we pull it up, I see something that is very important that they didn't tell me. And I'm like, how come you didn't tell me this? They're like, oh, I didn't know it was important, or I forgot. Right? Human memory is fallible. You can forget. And so, yeah, sometimes they're telling you their stories, but they forget a very important thing. And you're like, you make an assumption based on what they're telling you, which might not be the law. So make sure that you need legal advice. You contact us so that I can look at your case and help you. Guys, this year has been an amazing year. We've won hundreds and hundreds of green cards, US citizenship cases, work permits, social security. Look, every week we're getting several approvals. We've been sharing some of the stories on our social media. You guys have been seeing the evidence for yourselves. We're not making all these stories up. And I say this, a lot of my clients, I've never even met them in person. But COVID taught us that we can bring legal services to the comfort of your home. You can be right where you are, and we will do everything for you. You will get everything you need to get without stepping foot in our offices. So this is one of my favorite Christmas carols. So let's enjoy this legal jingle mingle, and let's see if we have questions to answer, and we'll be so happy to answer them. I'm here for you today, so drop all your questions that you have. Guys, if you're feeling the music, drop another emoji. Drop the emojis. Let me feel the emoji flow here. Okay, so this is oh, thank you so much. Let me see if we have some questions from TikTok. Maris on TikTok says, hi. Is my music overpowering? Maris says, hi, how long does an I-601 waiver take? So let me just go directly. So we have a lot of I-601 waivers that we file for our clients. Typically, they take between 3 to 4 years. But I'm going to go to the USCIS, one of their processing time, so we can see together, because processing times, guys, that's one of the things. Processing times change all the time. The processing times change. So let's see. Mary's, so we're doing. Fred Ghana says, I've tried reaching you on LinkedIn. Fred, please just give us a call. Our phone number, we just have one phone number. It's always at the bottom of every post we make. You'll be able to find our phone number, 802-780-0564. Find us everywhere on social media, threads, everywhere. But just call us or text us or WhatsApp us. Google AK Poku and you'll find us. Give us a call. Social media, unfortunately, I'm in meetings back to back every single day of the week. I don't even have a day off from consultations, like back to back. So, and if I'm not in consultations, I may be in immigration court, or I may be at USCIS field offices, representing clients to get their green cards, fighting for people's rights, advocating for them. So if you sit on LinkedIn and you message me from there, it's likely I'm not going to see it. There is somebody who's dedicated responding to your messages, but you have to let her know that you want to, speak with me, and then she can set you up to do that. Okay, now let's look at this. We're looking at the processing times for 601 waiver, 30 months. So 2.5 years, 3 years, Now I did for Nebraska Service Center. Let me just get it for all field offices, 30 months. Okay, it's come down now. It's come down within the last few weeks. Yeah, that's so the 601 waiver, let me explain what it is. A 601 waiver is, guys, the US government, these people, the US government, they are very, very tough. Let me tell you something. There are several inadmissibilities. And inadmissibility means that you cannot get a green card, you cannot get a visa because you have some type of inadmissibility. And inadmissibility may be based on misrepresentation, it may be based on fraud, it may be based on a health ground, it may be based on financial grounds, becoming a public charge, which is what we discussed. If you don't have an affidavit of support properly done, then you could be deemed likely to be a public charge. You are inadmissible, your case will be denied. Inadmissibility could be due to criminal grounds. And one of the most popular inadmissibilities that we see immigrants have is for fraud or misrepresentation. Okay, now the fraud or misrepresentation typically has to be willful, it has to be material, and it has to have been done to a U.S. immigration officer for the purpose of seeking a U.S. immigration benefit. So let's say you go to a U.S. immigration interview, let's say a B2 visa, and you tell the officer that you have, and this is an actual case, but you tell the officer that, oh, you have a son in New York. And the officer says that, and B2 visas, they're really not looking at documents. And the officer says, oh, okay, you have a son. Oh, how nice. How old is he? And you're like, oh, he's 15 years old. But you've never given birth. You're a woman. You're a woman. Let's say you're a woman. You've never given birth. You don't have any son. And the officer is convinced and issues you a B2 visa. You come to the United States, and guys, I've seen this over and over again. You come to the United States, you get married, 10 years later, you're applying for a green card, and you forget that you mentioned that you had a daughter named Elizabeth. And of course, you forget you filled out your application form by yourself, because if you come to us, these are things that we elicit, how you came in. We pull up your records. What did you state? We review those records and see what we need to do. Now, let's say you fill out everything yourself. You forget you said you had a daughter called Elizabeth, and then you go for the interview, and then you are confronted. You said you had a daughter called Elizabeth, and then they're like, okay, can you produce a copy of Elizabeth's birth certificate at that point? And you don't have a birth certificate because there's nobody called Elizabeth. Like, you never pushed out a baby called Elizabeth. In fact, you've never pushed out a baby in your life. You have no idea what it means, to be pregnant. You don't even have an Elizabeth. You've adopted legally, so you can't even say it's an adopted child. It was just a lie you made up to get a B2 visa. At that point, the officer could give you a fraud bar. Now, that fraud bar means you are forever banned from getting a green card. You are inadmissible. Because you're in the United States, you've already entered. So it's like, okay, well, we're not going to throw you out. We could refer you to immigration court for immigration proceedings, but we're just not going to give you a green card until and unless you file a waiver. In this scenario, the type of waiver you're going to be filing is called the 601 waiver, the waiver of inadmissibility, to waive the misrepresentation or your fraud. They like to use them, but in this case, it will be fraud because you actually got the immigration benefit through your lies. So you are going to have to waive that fraud. The 601 waiver is a good waiver for waiving a lot of problems. A waiver is a forgiveness, asking the US government, look, forgive me. And if you do have a qualifying relative that will face extreme hardship, if you are not given a green card, then your waiver is likely to be approved. Extreme hardship means hardship beyond that is ordinarily encountered by people whose family members are going to be deported. So it has to go beyond regular hardship. Extreme hardship is the legal standard. It's a legal standard. Okay, so yeah, 601 waivers are taking about 30 months. Let me fix this Instagram. Okay, there you go. All right. Usuario says, hi, lawyer. He's on TikTok. He says, I have my 2-year green card, no interview. For the 10-year green card, will I have to do interview? That's an excellent question. Guys, let me tell you a trick the immigration has been using. Now, you get a 2-year green card if you have been married for less than 2 years on the date of your green card approval. So if you got married January 2024 and you apply for a green card and the case gets approved, you're going to get a 2-year green card. It's known as a conditional green card. It gives you the same benefits that a 10-year green card will give you. So there are just 2 types of green cards: the conditional resident green card and then the 10-year green card. The 10-year green card and the 2-year green card, same benefit level, same rights, same everything. The only difference is that with the 2-year green card, it's conditional because 90 days before that 2-year green card expires, you have to file to remove the conditions. The 10-year green card, you just have to renew. You're a permanent resident. There's no conditions attached. Now, with the conditional green card, it was implemented because the US government wanted to be sure that people who were filing through marriage to a US citizen, the marriages were genuine or they were bona fide. They were not done with the intention to evade US immigration laws. Okay, I'm playing my Hallelujah song again. Justin, when I'm done with this, please take over and then just play. Otherwise, I'm just going to play this over and over again. And our people will be annoyed with me. So let's enjoy the music a little bit and then we continue. Okay, so let me tell you the trick that the government is using. Now, when you apply and they realize that they can give you the green card within 2 years, meaning they're going to, within 2 years of your marriage, meaning they're going to get a 2-year green card, they're very happy to give you a green card. They're not going to bother with too many investigations. Now, where they're going to get you is the 10-year green card, because that's what matters. You can get a 2-year green card and be put in removal proceedings and get deported. Absolutely. So that 2-year green card is just like a gimmick, because it's like, oh, you know what, we will not bother with you. Come back and meet us when you're trying to remove the conditions. At that point, you're going to have to prove a lot of things to show that that marriage you're in is a bona fide marriage. Okay. So one thing I tell people is that once you get the 2-year green card, please don't be taken away. Don't stop. You have to continue to collect evidence of the bona fides of your marriage. Just continue commingling your resources, doing things with your spouse so that you have documentary evidence of your shared life together, because you're going to meet them again once that 2-year green card expires. Okay. Ophelia Mensa says, please, I have passports. I want to travel overseas, but I don't have the money for any process. So unfortunately, traveling is a very, very, very expensive endeavor, and you need to be able to save money. Now, what you can do if you don't have money, you can look at, depending on your age, there are lots of available options for you. J1 visa, you can come into the US, work as an au pair, working. I have a lot of clients, they come into the US, they work as restaurant workers, they work as they can work in a resort, in a hotel, in a lot of places, in schools they can teach or whatever. They can work at camps, so they make money during the process as well. So look at the J1 visa. That's a good option depending on if you qualify. You have to be between 18 and 26, I believe. Yeah, let me see, somebody was asking about L1 visa, Hillary, and L1 visa. It's a non-immigrant work visa, right? So it means that you can come in L1A, for example, you can come in intra-company transferee, executive, or manager. That means that you have to have an employer who is a US organization that is trying to apply for you to come and work in the US office. Sometimes what will happen is that your company will not have a US office, but they can send an executive or manager to the US with the purpose of establishing a US office. But with the L1, you certainly need an organization to petition for you. There are some of the visas that are self-petitions. Others, you need your employer or your company to file for you. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't put, okay, what are the pros and cons of L category visas? Okay, all right, let's see if there's anything on Instagram. Any questions, any concerns? Guys, drop me the emoji if you can hear me. Okay, Justin, you can play the music now. How long? So Marie Dovo says, how long are K3 visas? How long are K3 visas taking? And is CR1 better than K3? The K3 visas, I believe, are for spouses. I mean, spouses of, for example, a US citizen, in order to reduce the wait time. And then the CR1 is the same conditional green card that we spoke about, meaning you're going to get a 2-year green card. I don't think there's anything that is better. The thing is that of late, the US government is barely processing these K3 visas. Typically, when you apply for, let's say, a marriage-based green card and it's taking long, then you could file the K3 application, and it's supposed to be processed and allow you to get a K3 visa to enter the US while you're waiting for the government to be done with your processing. But by the time they review your K3 visa, what they'll do is that they'll just approve the I-130. And if they do the I-130 approval, then they administratively close the K3, because the K3 has a purpose of reducing family separation. So once the I-130 has been approved and the case is being processed, then there's no longer the need for that. So generally, the K3 is just supposed to help theoretically speed up the I-130 or the marriage-based foundational green card, but they are not issuing K3s as you know it. So conditional, yeah, absolutely. The conditional resident visa, the CR1, that's the immigrant visa code for if you've been married for less than 2 years. You get that form I-551 stamp, and you can enter the US with it, and you are issued a 2-year green card. Absolutely. That the CR1 is what you're going to be issued with, not the K3 visa. They are not really issuing K3 visas. They will administratively close it once your process keeps going. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now let me see. We have a bunch of questions here. Paulus Ambantem says, can age gap of 42 and 60 years be a red flag if it's a genuine marriage? If it's a genuine marriage, then there's no red flag. Okay. Now listen, there are some marriages that are the marriages are already red flags in and of themselves. Like the marriage is a walking red flag. For example, you can get a marriage where you can, we see this a lot. You can get a genuine marriage, and the marriage is a red flag because you can tell that there could possibly be some abuse or some control situation, or there's some dysfunctionality within the marriage. But that's not what immigration is looking out for. They are not looking out for dysfunctionalities within a marriage or non-viable marriages. They are looking for marriage transactions. That's what is disallowed in US immigration. Okay, so if it's a genuine marriage, by all means, even if you want because you want a 60-year-old man, you have a 60-year-old man and you are 30 years. If it's a genuine marriage and you're able to show it's a genuine marriage, you should be good. That's your issue. However, one thing I'll tell you we've noticed is that, especially for our clients, when let's say you have an 82-year-old woman based in the United States, you have a 25-year-old man in Nigeria, in Ghana, trying to get a green card to come, the embassies are becoming increasingly difficult with these type of cases. It's already, the age gap is huge, and they have issues with those type of marriages, but it depends on so many things. I'm not going to put a blanket statement and say it's a red flag, but number one, it depends on where the beneficiary is. If they're already in the United States versus if they are overseas. What are the other evidences to show that this is a genuine marriage versus a transactional marriage? Meaning, you gave this person $25,000 to file a green card for you. You've never, you guys are not, you have no intention to establish life together. It's just, give me a green card, you take your money, we pretend we are married, but we know we're not. That's the problem they have. But otherwise, then they're fine. Okay, so I'm not sure why the music is not playing anymore. Let me see if I need to add Justin in order to play the music. Justin, can you play our music, our Christmas carols? Okay. Now let's see. Mal Kwan says, "Hi, I have a question. Do you think it's a risk?" Okay, so yeah, I have H1B status. I want to get my visa stamp. Do you think it's a risk if I go to my country this year? I cannot tell you if it's a risk. I need to talk to you. Where are you from? When are you planning to go? Are you doing third country? Visa stamping? Was it a change of status? It looks like you've likely filed a change of status in the United States. What was the underlying status? I need to understand all those things before I can tell you if, what your options are. Okay. Akwesi Ajeman. Oh, I'm sorry. Akwesi Jemfiwe who says, what do you have to say on the DB lottery? There's nothing to say so far. Everything is going on as usual. The results for the DB 2026 will be announced in May. And if you're a winner, you process your case. And I'll tell you, this visa lottery, to be honest, the Ghana embassy, the US embassy in Ghana, they don't process cases fast at all. And so it's just very strange that they keep taking all these they take visa fee applications, and then they're just so painfully slow with processing the cases. So that's a problem there. But we'll see. President Trump, during his first term, mentioned that he didn't want the visa lottery, but he has bigger fish to fry when he comes back into power. And so it's not really going to be his focus per se. But we'll see what happens with that. therefore merit-based, as he said himself, system. But even if he doesn't like cancel that program altogether, what he might likely come up with policies that makes the process even more painful, adjudicating the process so that the process is just really delayed. By the time you apply for your green card, you are not going to get called until the fiscal year is over. And so at the end of the day, you just pay and pay and pay, and you may not ever get your green card. That's some lucky people that do get green cards, but not always. I mean, okay, somebody's asking, how do we get in call? Oh, let me just, gosh, what's going on? I'm sorry. My computer, I just put something on there. Let's see here. So that's our phone number. Let me just put this one here. Let me do this instead. So if you want to contact us, just Suleiman Ibrahim Salif, who says, how do I get in contact with you for a one-on-one session? Yeah, please, that's our phone number there. You can DM us also, but you can call us on this line and you'll get in touch with me. Young, can you guys hear the Christmas carol? So Young Bless on TikTok says, I'm sorry. Young Bless on TikTok says, how long can I be a permanent resident before I can apply for? I'm sorry, I'm getting some calls. How long can I be can I be a permanent resident before I can apply for a US passport for a 3 years old child? So applying for a passport for a child, he has to be a US citizen. You cannot just apply for a US citizenship for a child because you've been a green card holder. The child has to have acquired you. So typically you can get US citizenship through four ways. Number one, principle of jus soli, you're born on US soil, 14th Amendment of the US Constitution entitles you to birthright citizenship. You're a US citizen because you're born on US soil. It doesn't matter if mom, dad are undocumented, they are visitors. Baby is born on US soil, baby gets US citizenship. Number two, automatic acquisition of US citizenship. This is where your parent is a US citizen, for example, before you are born, and they have the requisite physical presence requirements. For example, 5 years, 2 years must be after the age of 14, then you automatically acquire US citizenship. The third way of getting US citizenship is through the process known as derivation. Derivation, mom or dad becomes a US citizen through, for example, naturalization, and then the child was born, right? The child was already born. Then after the child was born, mom or dad becomes a US citizen. And then the child comes into the US, for example, through a green card process and is in the legal and physical custody of mom or dad. Then the child can the child can derive in this process. It's not an automatic acquisition, it's a derivation process. Derive US citizenship through the parent before they turn 18 years old. And then the last method is through the process of naturalization, where a foreign-born national comes into the US, gets a green card, has lived here for 5 years, and can apply through naturalization. So there's different methods, and you cannot just apply for a 3-year-old child a US passport without determining that the child either acquired US citizenship or derived US citizenship or automatically acquired US citizenship or some way. Okay, so now let me tell you about acquisition and derivation. When you do these types of applications for the child, you are not applying for citizenship. You're actually applying for a certificate of citizenship because the child is already a US citizen. You are just getting confirmation through the certificate of naturalization to prove it. With naturalization, you are now asking, can I be a US citizen? But for example, through the principle of jus soli, child is born in the US on US soil, the child applies for a US passport or can get the certificate of even the birth certificate alone plus the US passport is those things are fine. But don't forget that if your parents are diplomats and for some reason they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, then they are exempt from the 14th Amendment, meaning they cannot get the child, even though you give birth to them in the United States, they cannot get US citizenship because you are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So for those people, there is another process for those children. They get residency by creation of record, another separate process. If you guys remember, I shared some story last year about a medical doctor, over 60 years he had been in the United States. He was born here, got a passport, was a US, thought he was a US citizen, only to find out at 60 years old that he was not. His parents were diplomats, and so he should not have been granted US citizenship. The Department of State made a mistake. So, yeah, that question, just contact me and then I'll help you figure out what you need to do, okay? I'll help you figure out what you do with your child. Let's make sure. Okay, now let me play my jingle bells. Guys, can you hear me? Can you see me? Drop in your questions. That's our contact there. Or just Google. Yeah, I should have pushed this back a little bit. I think I'm okay. And another thing, Ophelia, if you have a passport and you don't have money for the process, another thing you want to do is you can also try student visas. You can try to apply for a student visa if you want to come and study in the United States. And I know that it can be a little hard to get those. So you can start, I tell people, you can start with Europe, you can go study in Germany, Italy, Switzerland, wherever, because the competition from those countries are less. There are just fewer people trying to come in from those countries to the US. And so usually when you are studying there, you take your studies really serious, you are doing something like a PhD, it's much easier, or even a master's, to come into the United States from those countries, like from Europe, than it is from Ghana or Nigeria or one of these other countries where there's so much pressure and the consular officers are just, they can be a little tough on the people. So let's see. I am Jael01 on TikTok says, can I reinstate my F1 visa after 1 year of being out of status? So typically reinstatement within 5 months, unless you can show extenuating circumstances that prevented you from filing your reinstatement within 5 months. I'm sorry, 5 months of falling out of status. So it depends. It depends. It can be very hard, but we've had situations where, if you're able to prove, for example, and this is just an example, maybe 3 months of being out of status, a car knocked you down, you've been unconscious for the last 9 months. That is an extenuating circumstances that prevented you from filing your reinstatement within 5 months. If we have proof of that, so it depends, okay? It depends on what happened and what we can do. In certain situations, what caused your CVIS record to be terminated? And I can give you options, advise you on what to do. Because sometimes going back into status may not necessarily help you. Ni atakwe klate. Thank you. Okay, so Linton J says on TikTok, I did my I-485 interview on August 27th. Case was approved, but it's up to 3 months, no decision yet. How can case be approved but no decision yet? Okay, so when you go for a US immigration interview, there are three things that could happen: an approval, a denial. Well, actually, I would say four things: an approval, a denial. They can hold your case in abeyance while they review, or they can issue an RFE, like tell you to bring some more documents. So I don't know what happened or how you filed your case, but August, that's a lot because, for example, all the interviews we've attended at our law offices, even December alone, we've gotten all of them approved for the month of December, every single green card interview. And you guys, I tell you, if you are applying for US immigration benefit, you see, look at it like a teacher marking exam script. And I like to use this example a lot. If you have two students, right, student A and student B, student A has written his answers, what my language will call kacha, kacha, kacha. The handwriting is all over the place, dancing. Question 7 on top, question 9, cancellation. And student B has answered in typewriter handwriting, all the answers. 1, everything is stated, full stop. 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're a teacher and you have 100 of students A with the kacha kacha, all the messy things, and you have 200 of students B's, are you not going to review the student B so you can approve them faster? Absolutely. Nobody likes to be stressed, right? So I'll tell you, and I've said it again, there's a method to everything in this life, even madness. And I'm not the one who said it. Shakespeare said it. Even though it be madness, there be method to it. So even madness, you don't just get up and start walking on the street. There's a method and a strategy to madness. And there is a method to this process. You can do it and by luck, you could get approved. But you could also do it and you could get messed up. We see it over and over. This morning, I've done a number of consultations. All people that file by themselves and they mess things up. And now they are out of status. Trump is coming and they are just desperate and worried. There are other people that also filed, they got approved, but there's something somewhere that needs to be worked on because they didn't know. So it's hard to tell you what it is they're looking at. But sometimes also, once you're done with the interview, the officer, the adjudications officer, would have to forward your case file to the supervisor to review to make sure everything is fine. It could get delayed there. Perhaps that's what's happening. I cannot really tell. So, but just you can continue to wait, and if you need our help, contact us and let's see if there's anything, the field office, and if you have the name of the interviewing officer. That's one of the things I need to tell you. When people go for immigration interviews, they don't even take down the name of the adjudications officer. And so, when we're trying to resolve, okay, who was the officer that interviewed you? They don't know. When I or one of the attorneys in this firm were representing you, there are certain fundamental things we take down. The full and complete name of the officer, the name of the field office. And there's other crucial things, notes that we make so that if there's a problem, we have recourse and we know who exactly to point to or to hold accountable. Okay. All right, guys, I think we've been on here for about an hour. Samuel Kwachi says, I've married my wife back home, traditional, and she has a visa. You want to marry her here, file her. Absolutely, we can help you with that. That's fine. Please give us a call and let's see how we can assist you here. And let's see if we have any Instagram questions. Okay, guys. I think we're going to call it a day. So if you don't see me again till the new year, this is me saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, all of you. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas from the entire team. Aseki Pukulo, all of us wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas. I hope this year I hope this year was a good one for you, and next year will be even better. Please give us a call if you need help with your case. Please don't joke with it. This is not the time to do it yourself. If it gets messed up, that's fine. That's even the kind of cases that we like, because we can bill you more and resolve the problem. But we want to we want to help you do it right from the start. Okay, TikTok, TikTok has all these rules. Okay, so we want you to do it right from the start. So come to us when it's not complicated and messed up. When we do it, it's cheaper for you. You have peace of mind. As my dad likes to say, and I've shared this before, my dad is a lawyer in Ghana as well. He says that if you come and see a lawyer, you will pay a little money, but you sleep at night. I want you guys to sleep at night. So make sure that if you have an immigration case, contact us. Trump is coming into power. We don't want you to get messed up and get into immigration court. Well, when you get there, we'll be here to advocate for you. So, but prevention is better than cure. You guys know it. So, on that note, I'm wishing you guys a very Merry Christmas from the entire team at AK Pukulo. I'm so honored and privileged to be in this position to be able to help immigrants like myself. I was thinking about it the last time I was driving, I think 2 days ago. And I thought, wow, how lucky I am, very privileged and blessed to have the opportunity. Guys, if I tell you that I ever imagined myself here in my life, I will be lying. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, okay, God made everything in such a way that I would be able to get my green card, my citizenship, live my American dream, and then hold the hands of fellow immigrants to get to where other, immigrants living the American dreams are. So it's an absolute privilege to be here. And I'm very thankful to God and to all of you and to my teammates and to everybody that has supported us and continue to support us. I hope you guys enjoyed this year's legal jingle mingle. It's a pleasure being your attorney. Well, if you haven't signed a retainer with us, I'm not your attorney, you're not my client until you contact us and we have that one-on-one relationship of attorney-client. All right. Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye, everyone.